Today you're going to learn how to use watercolor pencils to color in the locker background of our creature or monster project. So the first thing you're going to need to do is choose the colors for your background. And I chose some cool colors, some light blues, mediums, and a green to layer on top of one another to fill in the background color. You're going to need a watercolor brush that looks like this, and you're going to need a cup of water. Keep the cup of water above your picture so you do not accidentally knock it over with your arm. Watercolor pencils, I would like for you to start with the lightest color first. You can always get darker, but you cannot get lighter with them. And you're going to start by just using them very lightly. I guess I'll start in this corner. And I'm just going to use them like I would a colored pencil, lightly coloring in a small section. I'm just going right over all the details right now. I'm not going to worry about them. I want an even tone all the way across my lockers. It's called a wash. And I'm only going to cover about a quarter size spot first. Don't press very hard with the pencil and go in the opposite direction to fill in those spaces. Swirl your watercolor brush in the water and tap it on the side so you get a nice little point. And then work in from one side to the other, and you'll notice that the pencil will turn into paint. Stay within the lines. If you go over the line with the watercolor will spread past the line and you won't be able to stop it. Then I'm going to rinse my brush, tap it, and just set it out. You can't really see the blue, but trust me, it is there. I'm going to move on to another section now. Do not go back into the wet section until it is completely dry, which means the next day. So now I'm going to start down here. I'm avoiding that wet area. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm coloring in a section roughly the size of a quarter, pressing lightly, and then I'll go in the opposite direction to fill in the spots. I'm trying to make it fade a little bit out on the edges. This isn't going to be one solid color. A wash is very light. Getting my brush wet, I'm moving in from the inside of the locker to the outside edge. If you notice not a lot of color is coming up, that means that you should probably use more of the pencil because this is very, very, very light. So I'll show you down here what I mean by that. I'm going to not press harder, but I'm going to fill in that quarter size area again. And this time, instead of just going back over in the opposite direction like this, I'm going to actually go in a third direction to fill it in a little bit more. So the more of this pencil pigment you have on the paper, the more paint will show at the end. Plus, if you have a lot of water on your brush too, the water will wash out the color as well. Don't be afraid if you get a little bit of paint outside the edge. No one's going to be perfect. And once you have it wet and it turned into paint, don't go back over it with your brush. Now you can see the blue a lot better down here. It's not really that clear here, and it definitely is up here. So when this is dry tomorrow, when I come back to this area, I'll probably layer in more color here, and go back over it with the paintbrush. Now I'll work in this area here and here, and I'll continue all the way across the paper until all the light is done. Once that's finished, I will show you the next step, which will be the medium tone, and then the last step will be the dark tone.